The sun hung low over the mountain, casting a golden glow across the clearing where Malachi Brooks stood. His mighty frame loomed, axe poised mid-swing, droplets of sweat glistening against his tanned skin. For 3 years, he had carved out a solitary life in this rugged land, untouched by the whispers of the outside world. He swung until sundown, spoke to no one, and trusted nothing that moved. But today was different. 2 small figures stood at the edge of his clearing, stark against the rough backdrop of pine and stone. They were so still they could have been carved from the ancient wood he'd been splitting. Native children, twins by the looks of them. Their torn clothes hung like rags against sun-kissed skin smeared with dirt and dried tears. Their eyes, however, told a different story. They held wisdom beyond their years, a haunting depth that sent an uneasy chill down Malachi's spine. With a hesitant breath, he lowered the axe to his side, confusion mingling with concern. "What do you want, kids?" he called, his voice rough like gravel. The girl stepped forward, her brother staying close at her side. "We know what you did to our father," she said, her voice sharp yet steady as a gunshot through the morning air. Malachi's heart raced. He didn't know these children, yet the words ignited a spark of dread deep within him. I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, the tremor in his voice betraying him. The boy spoke then, his small hands clutching the edge of a leather pouch. "The man with the scar on his neck, the one who screamed when you held him underwater." Malachi's fingers instinctively traced the white line that ran from his ear down to his collarbone, a scar he'd trained himself to forget. "You remember now," the girl said softly, a strange satisfaction in her tone. "Good, because we need you to do it again." The words hit Malachi like a fist. He staggered back against the rough bark of a pine tree, its texture scratching his back. Do it again? Kill someone else? His voice cracked, disbelief coursing through him. The very notion felt like poison on his tongue. "You think it was justice, don't you?" The girl tilted her head, studying him with an unsettling intensity. "That our father deserved what you did to him." "I don't," Malachi began, but the memories flooded in, sharp and unrelenting. The struggle, the weight of a grown man going limp in his hands, the pleading. "If I killed him, then yes, he must have," the boy's voice trembled. "He was trying to save us." The statement hung between them, heavy with accusation and truth. Just then, the rustle of leaves broke the tension, and Malachi's gaze darted toward the path where he spotted a rider emerging from the trees. Sterling Maddox. The merchant's polished boots and silver-trimmed saddle gleamed, a stark contrast to the wildness surrounding them. "Brooks," Sterling called, his voice smooth but laced with something sinister. "Didn't expect to find you up here, though I suppose a man can chop wood anywhere, can't he?" Malachi's eyes flicked to where the children had been hiding, but they had vanished into the shadows. Only the lingering scent of herbs and smoke remained, an echo of what the children carried. "What do you want, Maddox?" Malachi asked, his muscles tightening. "I'm looking for some lost property. 2 native children, twins. You wouldn't have seen them, would you?" The lie slid off Malachi's tongue without hesitation, his heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. Sterling's smile broadened, devoid of warmth. "They've got something that belongs to me. Something their father stole before he died. Worth quite a bit to the right buyer." A whisper from the shadows reached Malachi's ears, barely audible. "He's here." The children had not gone far, and he could sense their presence, ready to react. "You seem nervous, Brooks," Sterling said, stepping closer. The crunch of wood chips underfoot sounded loud in the stillness. "That's not like you." As Malachi's mind raced, Sterling pulled a piece of paper from his jacket. "I've got a legal claim here. Those children are wards of my trading company now. Their father signed them over before his unfortunate accident." "Accident?" Malachi echoed, feeling the ground shift beneath him. The weight of a past he wanted to forget pressed heavily on his shoulders. Sterling continued, "I know they came this way. I've been tracking them for 3 days. Their little footprints stop right here at your clearing now." He leaned in, his voice low, predatory. "Either they sprouted wings and flew away, or you're lying to me." A twig snapped somewhere in the woods, and Sterling's head snapped toward the sound, hand instinctively reaching for his pistol. But Malachi was already moving, quick and deliberate. Years of chopping wood had sharpened his reflexes. His massive hand clamped down on Sterling's wrist before the gun could clear leather. "I wouldn't," Malachi said quietly, steadying his grip. Sterling's eyes widened, filled not with fear but recognition. "That's how you did it, isn't it? That's how you killed their father." The accusation sliced through the air. Malachi's pulse quickened. Memories surged back, vivid and brutal. The creak, the man's desperate gaze, the moment when violence had become an answer. "Why?" he found himself asking. "What drove me to it?" "He was a thorn in my side," Sterling sneered, reclaiming his composure, though the flicker of danger danced in his eyes. "Always trying to protect what didn't belong to him. You know how it is in this world, Brooks. Weakness is a luxury." Malachi's grip tightened, anger surging through him, mingling with the guilt that had nested in his chest like a viper. The memories clawed for release, but he focused on the boy's voice echoing in his mind, a haunting reminder of innocence shattered. "Look at you, standing there like some kind of hero," Sterling continued, a mocking lilt in his tone. "But you're just a brute hiding behind your trees. Do you think you can save them? Do you think they care?" In the distance, a crow cawed, a sharp, jagged sound that cut through the tension. Malachi glanced over his shoulder, half expecting to see the children materialize from the gloom. But only the wind answered, swirling through the branches, carrying the scent of pine and something bittersweet, fear mixed with resolve. "I won't let you take them," Malachi said, his voice low and gritty as the earth beneath their feet. "Not after what you've done." "You think you're noble protecting them?" Sterling leaned in, breath hot against Malachi's face. "You're no different than I am. We both know you've crossed lines that can't be uncrossed. What makes you think they'll choose you over their own flesh and blood?" Malachi's heart raced as the truth of those words sank in. He could feel the weight of his past coiling around him like barbed wire, constricting, threatening to choke him. What had he become? The rustle of more underbrush pulled his attention. The twins peeking through the ferns, their wide eyes locked onto Sterling. Fear and curiosity danced across their faces like flickering candle flames. "Go!" he called out, voice strained. "Run!" But they hesitated, caught in the crossfire of uncertainty. Malachi's heart cracked, a deep fissure of regret, the kind that blooms in the silence of choices made. Sterling, sensing the shift, smirked triumphantly. "There's your proof. They're waiting for me to take them home." "No!" Malachi shouted, the sound a raw primal growl. He pushed Sterling back, forcing him a step away, buying precious moments. The shadows seemed to deepen around them, thickening like fog, and the woods grew still, as if holding its breath. "Stay hidden," he urged the children, his voice low but fierce. The world spun on a thread of danger, the very air charged with unspoken threats. "Let's make this easy, Brooks. Just tell me where they are. Otherwise, I'll take them both." Sterling's voice dripped with malice as he brandished the paper, waving it in front of Malachi's face, the edges flapping like the wings of a doomed bird. Malachi's vision blurred, rage and despair blending into a single potent force. "You don't want this fight," he warned, his body coiling tight with the tension of a drawn bowstring, ready to release. "Try me," Sterling taunted, stepping forward again. But Malachi couldn't let fear paralyze him. He felt the earth beneath his feet, solid and unyielding, as he squared his shoulders and braced for the storm brewing between them. And then, without thinking, he lunged, the sound of his heart pounding in his ears, like a war drum, echoing the cries of the past. The forest felt alive, holding its breath as he stepped into the unknown, ready to sever the thread that bound them all to a fate woven with blood. The moment hung, taut and shimmering like a spider's web in the morning dew. Malachi surged forward, every muscle in his body coiled tight, ready to unleash years of pain. The air thickened with tension, the scent of damp earth and pine needles swirling around them, both a comfort and a reminder of what was at stake. Sterling's eyes widened, but it was a fleeting flicker of surprise. He sidestepped with a nimbleness that belied his heavy bravado, his posture shifting to accommodate the threat. "You're making a grave mistake, Brooks," he hissed, his voice low and venomous. He swung the paper, a weapon in itself, tauntingly close to Malachi's face, as if to lure him in. Behind him, the twins pressed closer, a tangle of limbs and wild hair, curiosity battling with fear, their small bodies trembling. They were caught in the crossfire, the very essence of innocence tangled up in this dark tapestry woven from past decisions. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch like fingers, reaching for the heart of the confrontation. Malachi's throat burned, words clawing to escape, but only a growl emerged, primal and raw. "You don't know what you're dealing with," he said, each syllable a promise, a warning. "Don't I?" Sterling shot back, laughter bubbling beneath his bravado, cold and hollow. "I know you've got blood on your hands. You think your little sanctuary will protect you? Look at them." He gestured toward the twins, the movement slicing through the tension like a knife. "They see you for what you really are, a coward in a hero's cloak." The words struck harder than he expected, each syllable a serrated edge that cut deep. Malachi's resolve wavered, doubt crawling back into the crevices of his mind. But then he remembered their laughter, the way they danced in the sunlight, and the warmth of their small, trusting hands in his. The taste of that memory ignited a fire within him, fueling the storm brewing in his chest. "I said go!" he barked again, louder this time. The forest seemed to echo his command, the wind whipping through the trees like a battle cry. "Now!" Finally the twins broke free from their hesitation, dashing deeper into the thicket, their small forms swallowed by the shadows. Malachi's heart raced, not for their safety alone, but for the chance to confront Sterling without the burden of their innocent eyes upon him. With a defiant snarl, Malachi turned his gaze back to Sterling, the world around him narrowing to that singular focus. "I won't let you take anything more from them." "Oh, but you already have, Brooks," Sterling sneered, stepping back, his demeanor shifting as he calculated his next move, like a snake coiling, ready to strike. "Every choice you've made has led you here." They're just pawns in your pathetic game." In that moment, a gust of wind howled through the trees, rattling the branches overhead, carrying with it the distant echo of a wolf's howl, a reminder of the wild, untamed nature of the world they inhabited. Malachi clenched his fists, feeling the rough bark of the nearest tree against his palm, its texture grounding him in the chaos. With the shadows creeping ever closer, he steeled himself. "You want them?" he growled, ready to become the monster he feared. "You'll have to go through me first." The forest seemed to listen, the very ground beneath them vibrating with promise, urging him onward. Sterling's laughter danced like flames in the cool dusk, flickering dangerously close to Malachi's resolve. "Ah, but that's where you're mistaken," he said, his voice smooth as oil, betraying a certainty that chilled Malachi to his core. "I'm not interested in the fight. Not yet." He paused, the faintest glimmer of something sinister in his eyes. "I'm more of a planner, you see. And you've already played your part beautifully. All it takes is one more little push." He raised the paper, now crumpled and worn at the edges, a map of twisted intentions sketched in ink and malice. The dimming light caught the edges, revealing names crossed out in furious strokes, memories rendered unrecognizable. Malachi's heart pounded a war drum inside his chest, the twins' safety battling with the weight of his own demons. "What have you done?" The question slipped from him, a whisper laden with dread. "Nothing yet," Sterling purred, stepping back into the shadows of the trees, the fading light casting him in an eerie silhouette. "But I can't wait to see how this plays out. You think you've escaped the past, Brooks? That you've built a sanctuary? Think again." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of wet earth, thick and heavy like the weight of Malachi's thoughts. As his gaze roamed the underbrush, he spotted a flash of movement. A rabbit darting through the ferns, desperate to escape the encroaching night. Something primal stirred within him, a reflection of the instinct to fight or flee. "Leave them out of this, Sterling," Malachi shouted, his voice cracking against the rising tide of uncertainty. A branch snapped underfoot, adding to the cacophony of the forest, a reminder of the fragility of all they had built. "Why? They're just like you," Sterling taunted, a smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. "Just a thread in the tapestry. You want to protect them? You need to acknowledge what you really are. Only then can you truly save them." With those words hanging in the air, he turned, taking a few steps back into the darkness, his laughter echoing like a haunting melody. Malachi felt the pull of despair threaten to unravel him, the shadows deepening around him, the trees whispering secrets he wasn't ready to hear. But then, from the depths of the thicket, he heard it, the soft, hesitant giggle of the twins, their innocent joy a lifeline amidst the chaos. The sound wrapped around his heart like a balm, igniting a determination in him that surged like wildfire. He could not allow Sterling's venom to seep into their lives any further. He took a deep breath, each inhale steadying him, the earthy scent of pine needles grounding him in purpose. "You won't break me," he declared, the words ringing out like a promise to the night. "You've underestimated the bonds we share." As if in response, the forest seemed to swell, a living entity breathing with him, the branches quivering as if the very essence of nature rallied behind his resolve. The sun dipped lower, the sky ablaze with hues of orange and purple, a last stand against the encroaching darkness. "Then let's see how strong those bonds really are," Sterling called back, his voice dripping with venom, a dark promise that loomed over them all like a storm gathering on the horizon. The dance was far from over. The stage was set, and Malachi knew that whatever thread connected them would be tested until it either snapped or wove a new destiny altogether. Malachi clenched his fists, the grit of the forest floor biting into his palms, grounding him as he fought against the rising tide of dread. He could hear the twins, their laughter ringing like church bells in the stillness, innocent and pure. But Sterling's words lingered like a noxious fog, twisting through his thoughts, warning him of the storm that brewed at the edges of their lives. The shadows flickered, broken by the last lingering rays of sunlight, and he stepped forward, breaking through the tangle of underbrush. His breath came faster, quickening with the urgency of his pounding heart. The air turned sharp with the scent of damp leaves and moss, a reminder that even in darkness, life thrived, resilient and determined. "Come out! Come out wherever you are," one of the twins sang, her voice sweetly melodic, ignorant of the danger lurking just beyond their world. A pang of anguish shot through Malachi, a visceral reminder of what was at stake. He rushed through the brambles, his mind racing ahead to protect them, to shield them from the poison that Sterling had unleashed. Just ahead, an old oak tree loomed, its gnarled limbs stretching skyward like skeletal fingers. It stood sentinel over a small clearing where the twins played, their laughter weaving a fragile tapestry of joy against the encroaching shadows. As he broke into the clearing, Malachi's resolve crystallized. He could not allow the darkness to snuff out their light. "Stay close," he called, his voice roughened by urgency, but his eyes softened at the sight of their gleeful faces. They turned, their eyes wide with wonder, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just outside the fringes of their innocence. One of them, a little boy with wild curls and bright eyes, crouched low, picking at the soft earth, oblivious to the shifting winds. "Look, Daddy, I found a worm," he exclaimed, holding it up as if it were treasure, a small miracle amidst the chaos of adult fears. Malachi's heart twisted. How could something so simple, so pure, exist in a world threatened by betrayal? "That's great, buddy," he said, kneeling beside him, reaching out to touch the tiny hand gripping the worm. "But we need to stay together. Can you help me gather some sticks? We can build a fort." "Okay," the boy chirped, enthusiasm igniting in his voice as he scrambled to his feet, leaving the worm to wriggle back into the earth. Malachi's gaze darted back to the edge of the forest, the shadows elongating as they deepened, Sterling's presence a lingering whisper at his back. The other twin joined them, her fingers gliding over the surface of an old stone, its surface etched with strange symbols, a remnant of forgotten times. She looked up at him, her brow furrowed. "Daddy, what does this mean?" "It means people used to come here, just like us," Malachi said, weaving a tale to shield them from the looming darkness. "They found comfort in this place, just like we do. It's a good spot, full of stories." But inside, a tempest raged. Each word felt like a thread unraveling, spun from a past that clawed its way back into existence. Sterling's laughter echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder of the twisted games that could dismantle everything they held dear. "Let's make our own story," he said, his voice firm, forcing away the shadows that threatened to engulf him. They began to gather sticks, the crunch of twigs beneath their feet, a distraction, a rhythm to ward off the encroaching dread. Yet even as they built their fort, the forest around them felt alive, the whispers of the leaves turning ominous, a harbinger of the coming storm. The weight of Sterling's malice hung in the air, suffocating yet electric, promising that the ties binding them would be tested in ways they couldn't yet fathom. As the twins busied themselves with their fort, Malachi's eyes scanned the tree line, where the shadows clung like dark whispers. There, the wind rustled through the tall grass, a reminder that nature itself held secrets, lurking just beyond their makeshift world. A low thrumming began to echo in his chest, a primal instinct warning him of the encroaching danger. The sun dipped lower, painting the horizon with strokes of crimson and gold, as if the sky itself was bleeding. He turned back to the twins, their laughter a sweet but fragile melody. But even their joy felt like a tether pulling taut, ready to snap at the slightest provocation. "Look, Daddy," the girl exclaimed, her fingers brushing over a cluster of tiny white flowers blooming defiantly near the base of the oak. "They're pretty. Can we pick some?" The innocence in her voice sent another wave of anguish crashing against Malachi's resolve. "Sure, sweetheart," he said, forcing a smile, though it felt like he was swallowing glass. He watched as she knelt beside the delicate blooms, the soft petals trembling in the light breeze, a stark contrast to the darkening sky. "Be careful, though," he added, his words laced with an urgency that belied the calm facade he tried to project. "We don't want to upset them. They fought hard to grow here." A shiver ran down his spine, a reflection of the storm brewing not only in the heavens, but in his heart as well. He could feel Sterling's shadow stalking him, the weight of their shared history pressing against him like an iron shackle. With each passing second, the air thickened, pregnant with unspoken threats and the knowledge that tranquility was a fleeting illusion. As the little boy joined his sister, their giggles rang out, pure and untainted. But for Malachi, it felt like a countdown, a clock ticking away the moments before the inevitable collision of their worlds. He clenched his fists, grounding himself in the present, the rough bark of the oak beneath his fingertips offering a sliver of reassurance. "Let's make this place our fortress, a safe haven from all the bad things out there," he said, his voice steadier now, lifting the weight off his heart just a little. The twins nodded, their excitement reigniting, and together they began to weave the sticks and flowers into something more, something that could withstand the winds of change. But as they worked, a low growl resonated from the depths of the forest, a sound that made Malachi's blood run cold. It was too deep, too guttural, not of any creature he could name. The twins froze, their laughter caught in their throats, eyes wide as the shadows seemed to swell around them. "Daddy?" the boy whispered, his voice small, a thread of fear woven through the innocence. Malachi felt the world tilt, the warmth of their shared laughter battling against the encroaching dread like a flickering candle in a tempest. "Stay close. I need you both to be brave," he said, his heart pounding in time with a distant growl. He gathered them to him, their small bodies pressed against his side, and for a brief moment they were a fortress within themselves. But the storm outside was gathering strength, and Malachi could feel the fraying edges of their world beginning to unravel, threatening to expose them all to the shadows that lurked just beyond their fragile sanctuary.